that's what you get when you summon another player, man. It doesn't...
Wow.
Why are you so trash?
I don't know.
Oh god, it's these axe guys again. Once the NPC has died, that's where it gets really tough.
They're on horseback.
And now I've got Scarlet Rot, which is not great. Oh shit, Scarlet Rot's gonna kill him. Fuck! I had to add that in just purely because I know I said in the last video that it wasn't really giving me that much of a challenge, but ultimately it was just the fact that the NPC would die and Luke would die, and then I was on my own to fight it all, scaled up. It was fine when I fought it on my own. But, yeah. Look at the power shift now that I've got Comet. This is the portion of the game where all of a sudden the damage I can do is, you know, starting to really come online. It's funny though because this now makes 3 for 3 bosses that I've killed as it's died at the same time. So, you know. Definitely something to do with being a mage and travel time and thinking you're going to be able to kill it before it kills you. But yeah, the power scaling is immense now, and there's you'll notice like that I never really changed my gear. I'm just purely dressed for aesthetics. I wanted to be this this like night wizard the whole way through, if possible. There are several items in the game that can actually give you more beneficial stats to make you even more powerful as a mage, but honestly, as soon as I got to like this stage with Comet and that, there wasn't really any need to increase my my damage output. And the funny thing is, as I move into the latter half of the game, I actually end up getting even more spells that just greatly shift the power scaling in my favour, and for a while I felt kind of overpowered. It does scale back down though, because some of the enemies do then become really tough into the late game, so you know it's fine. But yeah, it was nice to know that if things did get really tough, there would still be the option of like doing some gear switches to help get me through. It often feels like a soft defeat when you actually have to change your gear to get through a boss, but you know, I remember my first Souls playthroughs, like it's almost always like that when you feel like you're banging your head against a wall. Certain builds are just not made for every encounter. Some can, you know, you could just blitz your way through. There were loads of gear swaps I had to do in Dark Souls 3, but I also don't feel like it took me very long to get through Dark Souls 3. Because I just knew, oh, you know, this is producing lightning damage, you know, I should put on this armor. You know, it was like, and you didn't have to upgrade the armor either. It was like, well, okay, I'll just make these swaps and do these changes. I wasn't bothered about sticking to a particular build for a long period of time. You know, there was no pride value in it for me, so I just thought, you know, it is what it is, and I'll just move forward and use what's available to me. Every time I've tried to stick to a really linear build for the sake of, you know, doing it start to finish, I've regretted it later. So, getting some use out of the missile spells. See, feeling very powerful, especially when I get appropriate amount of setup. And to be honest, this room with those 2 pages, it's like if you don't handle this just right, they can do so much burst damage. But it's why I'm I'm doing it properly, not giving them the chance. So this place is one of those dungeons where you have to do all the running through past the chariots. Did not have a good time fighting those. Pretty miserable. Another opportunity to fight one of these red wolves. They're a bit of a miracle I survived that attack then. This one's obviously a little bit more like relevant scaling, I think, for me, but not by a lot. And it still hits so hard. Like, I'm hitting it really hard, but this spell is ridiculous. It's at this point that I'm realising that this, the spell that I'm using, although it's massive damage, I use so much mana that it's like I'm now at a stage in the game where I need a way to get my mana back, or like have a bigger mana bar, because I'm not able to keep up the attack for very long. So if I manage to stun an enemy, it's just like I can't capitalise on it. So I don't even have the mana bar to do that. This whole area is just pure pain. I did not enjoy half of these dungeons, to be honest. Some of the content I thought was really good. Anything with the chariot sucked. Anything with the that weird dungeon that like repeats on itself, didn't like that. That didn't make me feel good. A lot of these encounters where it feels like you're just supposed to be running past as well, rather than fighting the mobs. Not a huge fan of that. You've got to throw in a few of the silly deaths, and then it's funny because like it happens to everybody else. You better believe I watched them all. You better believe it. It is funny because you just why did I not just see these bloodstains first and look and just see for myself? Because everybody's trying it. Everybody's trying it. That poor guy just fell that way. But yeah, terrible minds think alike.
Well, if you really are that gullible.
I mean, in this clip alone, you can sort of see the potential power that you've got with the spell that potent, but I don't know. You'd think it would feel really good to all of a sudden become a super powerful wizard, but it's not knowing whether or not you've actually just over leveled yourself past the area, or if you are strong. What is the difference? I like to think it's because I've, just utilised my stats quite well, but, and the fact that I'm still squishy as hell, it's fair, but I remember watching people do, like, speedrun videos on, like, some of the old Souls games, and they always went down the path of, like, huge amounts of int on, like, these, spells that all you needed to do was just get the relevant level to cast, and the set amount of power that came from them was enough to carry you through the game, at least for a speedrun. And it made a lot of sense, but I'm not really sure where my power sort of caps off at as a mage. It's another enemy where I found them way too late. I'm not sure if this is in the first area. This might be literally right when you first come into the world. It's like in the cave next to it. This is an area I missed. I think I only found this because I was looking up a checklist of a load of rings that I needed, and it was like, hang on, this is a boss that obviously happens at the start that I didn't do. There's a lot of things like that that I missed. I can't believe how many dungeons there are at the very start of the game. It's not nearly as many in the later areas, but the first two areas, like Limgrave and Lernia, are both like just rammed full of these tiny bosses. I'm not sure if it's to get you to get a certain build online, so you've got a load of versatility at the start, but it certainly feels like they're catering to you being able to shape something before your journey really begins. Because there's nothing challenging there whatsoever, but there's a chance to get a lot of different stuff. But it's not like it's all, you know, mandatory. You can just pick and choose what you wanted for your build and then get going. But yeah, you have to know it's there. And which ones are a waste of time and which ones are relevant. So yeah, it still feels even now like in Souls games, if you want to have a good playthrough and a good build, you're better off just going following a checklist of where you need to go rather than actually just playing through everything and ending up being significantly over leveled for some content and under leveled for others. But you know, maybe the chaos of it is part of the nature of the game. I think because I'm a Souls veteran, you know, and I'm sure other people are going to find this as well. You're not going to die as much as what someone who is brand new to the genre would, because that you're going to find a lot of the time you're just going to have so many souls accumulate that you will just constantly be able to level. I always used to just find other things to spend my souls on to make sure that I wasn't too strong. If I kept finding that I never lost any, and sometimes that can, you know, mean like dumping souls into items that will support you but won't necessarily make you overpowered for the next area. You know, sometimes I buy like fire bombs and shit like that, or maybe all of the boss armors I wasn't necessarily going to use but just wanted for completion, or you know, I remember like those what were those like little healing over time stones in Dark Souls 2, like just stockpiling those to 99 and stuff. That was always a, you know, a good alternative, because then you've always got them, do you know what I mean? But yeah, you're not necessarily just over-tuning yourself for the content. I actually had fun in this area, to be honest. A few different places where I'm just experimenting. Look at these guys pelting this guy. Have a taste of your own medicine. I tried to get good effect out of them. They weren't that useful. I thought they'd be really tanky, but because they're so squishy when they don't use their shields, and they do occasionally get caught out, they sort of get massacred by AoE, which is pretty tragic. I remember these guys not necessarily causing huge problems, but I got caught a couple of times, and it's still just a one-hit KO. Lost quite a few souls though. So there's only been 2 parts of the game where I've actually lost a significant amount of souls. One was in the room fighting those, which was annoying, and then those dogs killing me damage, I think, tied into that as well, because I hadn't picked up my souls from that thing killing me when those dogs killed me. So that and the rat in that earlier video are like the only places where I've lost a significant amount of souls. It was quite a lot, but I didn't really feel it because I was already quite strong, you know, like felt like I was quite strong for the area. I really had I was having fun with the game. I was dying a lot by this point, but felt strong enough to kill everything. You just have to embrace the fact that you're just going to die a lot. It was in Bloodborne mode. This guy with the sword, it's like, I didn't even feel like this was a challenging enemy, but you know when you just destined to die over and over. Destined death, you might say. He's just one pokey boy, do you know what I mean? Like Ricard's rapier build, Dark Souls 1, you know. I think it's funny that they designed an enemy that uses a weapon like that to look like this. I think it says a lot about that sort of play style. Because everyone knows that the people who were running around with rapiers in the previous games were just shitters. Like, it's a bit of a PvP cheese, isn't it? And I like to think that this is their representation of what that degenerate might look like. But yeah, again, not a particularly tough boss here. I feel like a lot of the enemies around here were sort of scaled in a decent rate, but you know, oh no. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if I should be coming here this early. And yeah, weird bloodstain. Yeah, wasn't sure if I should have been coming here or Profaned Capital. Because as I say, it's not clear. It's almost like the capital is supposed to be the end game. You find out later that yeah, you sort of go to and fro with that place. But at what point are you supposed to come here into the mountains? It's like you're supposed to go there first and then come here, but you know. I remember this little PvP encounter. I actually, I really enjoyed these because obviously, you know, if you fail them, you just teleported back outside. This guy actually killed me about 5 times. Tough little fight that. But good opportunity to see which of your spells work well in PvP. If you're going to experiment, like all of the contracts to do with the mana are probably the best time to do it, because you will just like you can just summon yourself back in and you know, try something else. Whereas everything else, it's like, oh well, you die, you've got to run all the way back to the boss room, etc. Like, but yeah. It's similar to PvP, so a good opportunity to see what really works. I think by this point I'm just showcasing that even though these enemies were incredibly challenging in the early, I've eventually figured out the pokey stick strategy. I'm sure a lot of people probably felt like this was really, really hard to deal with at first. It's just the stabbing spear one, like the other ones are not too bad, but that is just, when that catches you just right over and over, it's well fatiguing. I can't remember. Yeah, this is another contract, I think. And yeah, it's another one where, like, I know they're trying to do some stuff, and it's like, oh yeah, this would be well scary if I was in melee, but I'm just trying to plaster them with magic, and hopefully it's enough. Feels like a bit of a one-trick pony, this enemy. It actually reminds me a little bit of, like the Bloodborne PvP encounters. It's like, yeah, potentially, if they get on you, they're oppressive, but if they don't get on you, you know, not scary at all. I don't remember this boss. Yeah, I've got nothing for this. Actually don't remember fighting this at all. So, yes, Dark Souls 2 reference. Yeah, I remember coming around to these windmills and thinking there's got to be something significant about them. But nothing. It's like they're marked on the map, almost like they have a purpose, but I couldn't find them. I just thought it was strange. But yeah, you don't know what like devs ever have planned in development, so maybe it was something that was going to be a thing, and then they just canned it. No real way of knowing. Oh yeah, so that's another thing that I really like about the ranged summons. You actually get to see the arrows hanging out of them, and I love that. I love anything where in any game where there's actual visual display of like what damage has been done, what impact has been taken. So you can see the sorts of areas that they regularly get hit in, and because this guy's a bit of a Stretch Armstrong, it's like it's so much more evident where they've gone. It's just really funny to see them flexing around. I can't remember if by now I've actually found Rykard, and I'm then just like, well, I'm gonna go somewhere else because this is fucking hard. But yeah, so I'm on my way into the capital now, just having a look. And, I mean, I remember fighting, you know, some different like tree sentinels, but some of them just. Some of these attacks are so like easy to deal with, and then there's that, like that lightning strike thing that he does. I think even now, like going into NG plus, I don't know which one I'm moving on, 2 or 3, but yeah, some of these attacks are still so difficult to dodge, and I think it's just because as I've gotten older, like my reaction time just isn't as quick as it was when I was younger. That's all it's down to. Just be able to react fast enough.